Hi, I'm Rob. I'm the Builder Investor. Welcome to the podcast. Today we've got a real special guest, someone that I've been watching on social media for the past year, basically. To be honest, couldn't believe it when I asked him to come on, and he agreed. So today we've got Andy Hubbard. He's come all the way from Lincolnshire, fair old drive. So thank you for that, mate.
You're welcome.
Obviously, I know quite a bit about you because I've been following you. We're in the same trade, but obviously, for the people that are going to tune in, would you mind just giving us a bit of a brief description on what you've been getting up to, what your past is? Just a little bit of an update, really.
Okay. Firstly, thanks for inviting me. I like to share my message to people and try and give people a bit of inspiration and advice from younger people that are sort of watching this podcast. But my background is a bricklayer apprentice. Did my 2 years and I did my third year advanced. I did it through a recession, so it learned me a lot because I had no idea of a recession, didn't mean anything to me. But I did my apprenticeship with Peterborough City Council, hated it because I wasn't laying bricks, which is the irony. But it allowed me to learn other trades like roofing, plastering, tiling. And that was a valuable lesson in life to not put all your eggs in one basket. And at that time, the recession came, and all the bricklayers, all my mates, literally just lost their jobs within about 2 or 3 weeks. And for me, as much as I hated my job, luckily I managed to stay employed. My parents are sort of a bit old school, old fashioned. Stay there, get your papers. So to some degree, it taught me some good lessons. I managed to stay in employment.
Which recession are we talking about? Obviously,
I've got to show my age now, haven't
yeah,
I?
1993. You're a little bit older, obviously.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot
So
of people in
1993.
property, only remember the last recession. So
Yeah, and to some degree, it still didn't really mean much to me because I wasn't a homeowner. I didn't know anything about interest rates, borrowing money. So I just knew that a lot of people lost their jobs. It hit them hard financially. But during that apprenticeship, there's obviously elements that I did enjoy. I did enjoy the banter and learning new skills. I really, that was one thing I really did learn. I like to learn new things. I don't like doing the same thing over and over and over again because I almost feel like you end up being like a robot. There's no...
Yeah, that monotony just sets in,
Yeah.
and it becomes boring. It's less of a enjoyable task, isn't it?
It does, and I'm a natural problem solver. I don't attract problems, but I like problems and I like to solve them. Which I guess that's why I help people figure out what they want to do and help them to get where they want to be. But one big thing I noticed while I was during my apprenticeship was everyone worked there from sort of 14, 15 years old up until they were 65. And by the time they were 66, 67, a lot of the majority would certainly just keel over and die.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, is this really it? You stay here for the rest of your life and then you get to die? And I just thought, this isn't for me. And a big thing I noticed was there was we get a hierarchy in a business and we need a hierarchy, but in my eyes, we're all equal. Whether you're the person cleaning the toilets or you're the manager making a big financial decision,
We're all cogs in a machine.
We're all cogs, yeah, exactly. I was just about to say exactly the same thing. We're all cogs of the machine, and if one cog's missing, it doesn't work. So, and I believe in equality. Some people choose to be a cleaner, some people don't want to be a cleaner. But we are all equal in a business, and I don't believe that anybody should be spoken down to just because they're in a low-paid job or they don't have any aspirations, so to speak. So employment wasn't for me, and I just thought, what, I'm going to go travelling and do the things I want to do now rather than wait until I'm 65 because A, I might not live that long, and B, am I going to be in a physical state to be able to do those things like ski seasons? Yeah. So I literally went on a holiday at 19 years old and I never came back for sort of 13 years. I came back to in and out to lay bricks a few times, which was good because you could literally come back and pick up work. You could ring up an agency. You had a few mates that were in the trade.
Yeah.
That's one thing I really loved about the job. It had freedom where you could just come, earn some good money. For me, I just used to graft 7 days a week, 15 hours a day, because my objective was to get the money to get back out of the UK.
Yeah, well, it was the same with me. Obviously, I didn't do the travelling, but in the late 90s, early 2000s, you could virtually walk off one side, walk across the road and get a start, whether it was like, I'm a carpenter joiner, but it's in the same industry. You could literally get a start that same day, that same hour. Are you with me?
Yeah. And that's what I liked about it. So I guess back then, mindset's a big thing, and people fear losing their job. Self-employed people fear never having any work. And I guess because I used to go out the country for sometimes 6-9 months, and I could come back and pick up work within 24, 48 hours. Sometimes I'd have it scheduled for when I got back. I hadn't got the scarcity mindset. Not until I got my first mortgage. And that was different. When I had responsibilities and bills and kids, yeah, the mindset went a bit more into being a bit scarce of, got to pay my mortgage, got to keep money coming in, don't want to turn down work. But when I was traveling and all I needed was a few quid to go and bum around the world,
Yeah.
didn't mean as much to me about not having any work. Still living at
definitely.
parents and whatever. So
I mean, it's definitely, it's something I wish I'd have done, because obviously, as I've just explained to you, I'm into a bit of mountain biking, loved a bit of fishing. To be honest, the similarities when I've been, looking at what you've been getting up to and what you enjoy doing as well. There's quite a lot. I think it goes with the industry that we're in as well. We kind of seek out that bit of a thrill, and and want to do things that actually shows that we're doing something with his life and not just living it and just going from day to day and not having some kind of achievement kind of thing. Are you with me?
yeah, and I think being in construction, maybe you'd agree with this, we're visual people.
Yeah, used to building things.
Yeah, we like to see what we've done at the end of the day. And I've had this discussion many times. I could earn £1,000 within an hour, no problem today, from a laptop or whatever. So, more than that. But I still feel more satisfied going to work all day, working with my hands, and probably earning the equivalent of a £250 a day tradesman.
Yeah.
And seeing where I've been and what I've built and constructed, and it's going to be there for a very long time. Any day over being in an office and paperwork and technology and stuff like that.
Well, I literally posted something on social media last night about that exact same thing, and I think when you've spent your whole life in a particular scenario, or in a trade, changing the mindset that you've basically trained over basically what's a lifetime, 30 years for me, so difficult. It's like just changing that thinking, that perspective, what you see, is really difficult. And I think that's one of the major things that people, when they come into property and developing and things that have generally built business minded and not being a tradesman, that's the most difficult switch to make, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of things that trigger those changes, because you do have recessions. So when there's plenty of work and there's plenty of money, we can take our foot off the gas, because like you say, you're calling the shots. When there's a recession and the work dries up or whatever, you have to up your game in business. So I think recessions are quite good. I think people with good reputations stay busy.
My old man used to say there's a 10-year cycle. Within 2 or 3 years, give or take, there's generally a cycle that the whole world follows, and you can see, and you can have a look back in the past and see those things. And going back to what you've just said about people working their whole lives, getting to kind of 60 and then dropping down dead. It happened with my old man. We lived our lives. We did a lot of sports together and things like that, mountain biking, motorbikes and things like that. We lived our lives and enjoyed it. But he worked bloody hard. He was a sandblaster, paint sprayer.
Right.
Worked every day, really hard. I've done it with him. It was a hard thingy, a hard trade, and got to 61, I think it was. Just died in bed overnight.
Wow.
Yeah, working the day before he died. So,
which again can be another trigger point to change what you're doing. That's
why I'm doing this. The whole thing, the whole reason why I'm doing this is for, I enjoy my life. I make enough money to go out and enjoy my life. But what's going to happen when I want to stop? And
well, again, being a tradesperson, if you're using these things to earn your living. You're a mountain biker. I like my mountain biking. If I break my arm, I wouldn't earn any shoulder.
Yeah, during COVID luckily, I wasn't working anyway. But and I got told off by the accident unit for not, for being there when I shouldn't have been. But that's a different story.
But it's something that trades don't really think about. All your eggs are in one basket. If you're using these things and your time to earn money, which I guess that's why I transitioned into property and property development, because I think if you look at all the tradesmen can earn a good living. Cost of living's gone up, taxation's gone up, everything's gone up. So that cost of living really is being squeezed now, and people are working really hard, doing a really good job. And it's just got a bit tougher to earn beyond your means, so to speak, where you actually feel like you've got something for the hard reward and the stress and the work in the long evenings and the long hours and and all those jobs you go and look at, and the customers that have to chase the customers' payments and so I think trades are feeling a bit of a not a bit sorry for themselves, but they're feeling a bit like, we deserve more because we work really hard. I'm not saying other industries don't, but running your own business as a tradesman, a construction business, is tough. It's challenging because every day
I can second that,
yeah. Well, we were talking about if you niche. So maybe if you're just a plasterer, it's definitely easier if you just niche.
Yeah.
But most people will venture out into doing extensions, loft conversions, garage conversion, driveways. They will add more trades to their armory because otherwise you got to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
So then you start venturing out into bigger jobs. Bigger jobs, you think more money, not necessarily, because again, there's a sweet spot in construction, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you get to that point where it's kind of people only want to spend a particular amount of money. Are you with me? And they see that cost point. And if you can't fit within that bracket, whether that's within your profit margin or not, you're not getting that job. Are you with me?
Yeah, and where does 75 grand go on an extension these days?
That's not a great deal.
It's tend to be a single story, full width across the back of the house, and that's it.
Yeah, that's
probably not even a kitchen in there.
Yeah,
So like you say, it's getting harder now to do the jobs because of the cost of materials, cost of labour. Tradesmen want £300 a day work.
And ultimately, that's had a knock-on effect within property and developing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hence why we're seeing land banking at the minute. There's a lot of big developers buying land up like it's going out of fashion at the minute. Well,
it's the time to buy it because vendors are a bit more motivated. Yeah. Plus, they're buying something today to build out in 5 or 10 years' time. Well, if you could have bought land 5 or 10 years ago, you can now see why they make bigger profits. Because if they bought it in today's value to get building today, the deals wouldn't stack because of the cost of materials and labour, etc. So, but yeah, I mean, I went to see a mentor years ago after I come back from travelling, realised I needed to play catch up because I just had a bag of clothes, so I had to find somewhere to live and start earning more money.
So I take it you were just like a single lad, come back from travelling, made this decision. Don't really want.
Well, the decision was made for me because I used to go out with a girl when I was 21. Just for 6 weeks, and then we went separate ways. She got married, had kids. I went travelling.
Yeah.
And then she texted me while I was in Italy climbing, and she just said, "Oh, I've just left my husband. I'm going to Malta because her parents are Maltese." She goes, "I just took the boys over there for a holiday. Just need to get away." So I just texted her and said, "I want to be with you and the boys. I'll be in Malta tomorrow." And that's where everything changed because I literally...
That's commitment now.
I slung my tent in the van, drove all the way back to England, back to sunny Peterborough, booked a flight straight back down to Stansted, over to Malta, and that was it. So that's how I got, with my wife and boys now. So I'm the stepdad, and everything changed. But we got a first house and we started buying property. But I went to see some mentors, and again, this was the second recession.
So you have done the old buy-to-let thing, then? You've actually been in property.
Because I'd seen my friends, and obviously everyone's houses were going up while I was travelling the world, like tripling. And I'm sitting here thinking, hold on, look, I need to get in on this because I'm having to come back with zero money in the bank. But if I start doing this now, and I've got the skills to go and do all the properties up. So I worked hard, saved up some money, got some deposits, ran out of money, went to see some mentors. They showed me how you can do stuff without money. Then the second recession came, so 2007.
I take it if you're Peterborough way, then it was naturally progressive that you went to.
Yeah. So I saw them very early days, like 16 years ago.
So when Rob and what's the other guy's name? Mark was still actively teaching.
Oh, 16 years ago, it was just them. Very early on. But at that point, because I'd inherited my dad's tight gene, so we don't like to spend money as Hubbards.
I inherited my dad to spend it as soon as
you did you? Yeah, sort of thing. But I went to see the mentors and I just thought they're not going to sell me anything because I can do this on my own. So I walked away, basically came to a standstill because the recession came. Those guys went on to buy hundreds of properties and do lots of things.
Yeah.
And that taught me a really, really valuable lesson. I was like, do you know what? I was very naive about doing everything myself because I came to a standstill and they just boomed.
Yeah.
So I always said, right, do you know what? Get through this recession, get back to work. I had no money in the bank, mortgage. Well, I had 3 mortgages actually because I had 2 empty properties. Just got myself a new truck because I thought, well, look, what can go wrong?
Yeah.
I'm doing all right here.
Yeah.
And then, so I thought, right, we'll move house, get the house and move house, like take a big chunk off the mortgage. So we did that. And then we was going to spend 2.5 years doing that house up. So I said to my wife, look, once this house is done, I want to go back and get into property. I said, because this is costing me millions really in effect. So we got that house done. just as I'm getting it signed off, my wife, because my wife said I'm never moving again. I don't know if you've ever done a big house up and lived in it with kids.
Yeah. We've been here now 17 years, and obviously we did a lot of work when we got here. But it's got to the point now, kids have moved out. We've just had a mental dog that's wrecked the kitchen, and everything's just starting to want to be done again. Yeah. And it's kind of that cycle. It's like, you know,
but when you're at work, living in it
again,
yeah. So my wife said she'd never move again. I was like, well, okay, it's not my dream house, but it's okay. We've done a massive house, 120 square meters extension, because you can. And I'm there with the building inspector, and she's ringing me. She says, "Oh, is it all passed?" I went, "Yeah, yes, do it. It's all signed, all off." She goes, "I think we should move again." I'm like, "You're joking?" She said, "One more move, and we'll get rid of the mortgage." So I'm like, "Oh, all right, we'll do one more." She just wanted to take the stress away from me.
Yeah.
She'd seen me working, because at that time I'm working like 80 to 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, crazy hours. So we did one more house up, got that one finished. Again, another 2.5 years. Because of being busy at work. I mean, I was so busy at work through reputation. And then, when...
So what was you doing for work then? Was it just being a general builder, or were you
originally, I came back and, you know, I did some site work, got back into general building, built up a reputation, no advertising, anything like most builders.
Yeah.
And I just got crazy busy. And again, through the recession, I'd always been advising my cousin, or my brother-in-law, sorry, to go into garage conversions. I say, "Oh mate, it's got to be the sweet spot. You pull up outside someone's house, you know, lift up the door, you're in that little space, you can convert it in a few days, done. You're in and out. You're not got to spend 10 weeks around an extension. You can do them on your own."
Yeah.
You know, so I eventually just niched into garage conversions, and that's it. I just became the garage conversion specialist.
They were massively popular at one point in time, really.
But, you know, for 8 or 9 grand at the time, I could still make, say, 1,500 quid for 3 or 4 days work.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have to be around a customer's house for weeks and weeks. I didn't have to go digging footings, you know, and then eventually I had a few guys coming in starting to do some stuff for me. But I just got really busy because it was just me and a few guys doing everything.
It doesn't take long for you to get busy when it's just you.
It doesn't. Well, the thing is as well, you do one in the street, everyone's walking by going, "Oh, yeah, that's interesting." Of course, then they walk by 3 days later and see it all finished. They're like, "Well, I'm going to have one of them then rather than have a loft." And people didn't have the money at that time to go refinancing for loft conversions and extensions. So, you know, again, I stumbled on something which by accident was the sweet spot to get into construction. Then I went back to Rob and Mark, booked on quite a few trainings, and I nearly never went because I went to a free event and I thought, do I go? It's a Friday and I'm busy. But I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to go, you know. And so I went to that day and it just blew my mind away. I learned a lot of stuff. You know, when you hear somebody tell you that you're trading your time for money and you think, yeah, do you know what? I can now understand why I'm never going to get any more money because I've got no more time.
Yeah. Well, that was quite a pivotal moment. I was driving down, as you know, I had Jamie York as a mentor for a while, and I was driving down to one of his. It was like a bit of an event down in Brentwood. I believe you deliver yourself down there as well.
Back in Peterborough now.
Yeah, I was driving down there, and at the time I thought, I've got a long drive. I'm going to listen to an audio book because I'm dyslexic and I've always struggled reading books. And when I found audio books, it was like hallelujah, you know what I mean? So I listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's like the staple book. Everyone you know reads it or listens to it.
Asset liability, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not ashamed to say, as a grown man, I got there and parked up in the car park and listened to the last couple of verses, like last couple of paragraphs, and I just cried. Yeah, I was like, I've lived my life. I'm 45 years old. I've been living my life completely the wrong way, just spending money willy-nilly, thinking I'm enjoying my life. And I've had a good life. I can't knock it, and I don't think I could change it. But
think about that book. You know, it's a pivotal moment in your life, and you just think, I wish I'd read that book 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, that was why I cried.
Yeah.
If I'd have read that 25 years ago, or my old man,
same for me.
I'd have been.
And do you know when I read that book?
Completely different situation.
When I had the 3 mortgages in the truck. I'd only just got that truck 2 weeks ago. And I remember looking out my office window thinking, I hate that truck. That's a liability. I just realised now.
Yeah.
But yeah, great book.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously, so you've done a lot of work within construction. I mean, you've cut your teeth. You've started at like 15, 16 years old as a school leaver. Worked your way through. You've had that bit of time out where you've done some travelling and done what you wanted to do, and then you've come back and realised you've got to do something. You've got an avenue to go. You've now got people depending on you. You've got a wife, 2 kids. Is it 2 kids?
2 boys, yeah.
Two boys.
Eating machines.
Yeah, eat you out of house and home, and they get more expensive the older they
Well,
get.
also you have a responsibility, don't you, to guide them, because today's world is a bit hard for teenagers to find their feet, So you take on that responsibility of being their mentor, I suppose.
So where did you go from there then? Obviously, you'd come back with no money. Obviously, you need money to develop. Did you find about development finance and things like that?
I'd spent some years working for other developers as well. So I've been on site, rang my own gangs. And I just noticed there was a pattern about developers who used to go on holiday a lot, especially to Spain, and then they'd pull up in nice big Range Rovers. And I've been doing property for a while. I managed to replace my income with quite a few properties. But I realised that this isn't really the dream. And I think, again, for anybody listening to this podcast who's getting into property, I always say to them, look, spend 1 year just figuring out what you want to do. Don't rush out and get a buy-to-let.
I've just said that to you outside.
Yeah. Don't rush out and get a service accommodation. Just find your feet, build your network, see what everyone else is doing, but really follow your passion. And, after building a portfolio, I went back and, developing was always going to be the way back. Bigger profits, leverage, and it fitted me where I could go and do a development and take 6 months off.
Yeah. To me, from the outside, look, obviously I've worked on developments. I've built houses. As a company, we build houses. We've not done hundreds, but we've done the odd one here or there. Like you, I've worked for some massive developers. I've managed sites. I've project managed a group of sites and things like that. But what I seem to find was with your general builder, when your developer does pull in on site on his Range Rover and he's off to Spain, it's always a them and us kind of situation where I was never like that. I was always intrigued, and why is it that they are doing that? And I'm having to literally knock 4,000 nails in today, and So
I think the developer I sort of learned. I spent a few years working with him on and off, and just grateful for him giving me a job for starters.
Yeah.
But whenever he would pull up, he would be in a truck sometimes. And he would come up onto site, chucking down the rain, and he'd be there offloading bags of cement.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it comes back to the hierarchy thing. He was loaded, this guy was, him and his brother. But he was just like a normal person.
Yeah, still willing to actually go and pick some cement up.
And I think that made me realise that, again, because people have a stigma with people with money and cars and stuff like that. It's like, no, do you know what? There are normal people that are just the same just because they've got money. And this guy's not afraid to get stuck in when it needs to be done. And like, as me as a developer now, my painter, he works for about 7 developers, and he always says to me, he goes, you're the only one out of all the 7 developers I work for who I see on site in their work clothes, driving a van, will just get stuck in, giving someone a lift. And I'm like, but that's me as a person, regardless of money.
He probably respects you a lot more than he does the other guys, because he's seen that you're willing to do what you're asking him to do.
Yeah, and also we have because I'm multi-trade, I know what that person wants to expect when they get to work. They want a clean environment, they want a safe environment, they want all the materials there.
They're there to make money.
They're there to earn money, exactly. And that's, and if that person doesn't earn money, could be some knock-on consequences. You don't know how much money they got in the bank. They might need your job to do that mortgage payment. And look, I always appreciate anybody who comes to work for us. We look after them. My wife will bring them like bacon rolls and stuff like that. Little things that go a long way. But I'm just one of them. Just because I'm a developer, I'm still a tradesman who will work on the tools, and you'll never change that.
Yeah, I'm kind of having a bit of a fight with that at the minute. It's like, the old spending your time doing more valuable tasks and things like that. And I've probably spent the last 4 or 5 years trying to get off the tools. I've just done a stint of just over 6 months where I've basically been in the office.
Did you get a bit of did you get a bit of resentment from your lads saying, "Oh, you're going home now"?
Yeah, you always do, don't you? They come in the office to drop something off, and it's like, "Oh,
warm in here."
Yeah, nice in here. Yeah.
But then they don't see you working in the evenings and the weekends, and
they don't see me on the laptop at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's difficult, isn't it, to just make that change when you've got that mindset. But I'm just having that personal battle at the minute. But I'm starting to realise that there might be some value in occasionally just nipping on site and doing a day. It shows the lads that I'm willing to do it. You know what I mean? I'm not asking them to do something I'm not willing to do myself. And,
I mean, what worked for me, because I have the battle between being in the office and being on site, especially when the sun's out. You don't want to be in the office when it's 25 degrees and the sun's out. So I've just learned to say, right, I'll either be on site in the morning and then I'll go in the office in the afternoon, or I'll get my stuff done in the office early in the morning and then I'll come to work at 10 o'clock. And then I can just relax for the day because all my tasks are done. We're talking about the high income generating tasks, get those done and just go back to work and relax. And I've learned to just do that, and I get to win at both things rather than it being like I'm just stuck in the office all day long on my laptop.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to the point now where you can actually choose if you fancy, if the sun's out and you fancy going Alpine Lane some bricks. Yeah, there's always that option to do so. And
yeah, I mean,
if you don't want to, there's guys there doing it for you. Are you? It's all.
We have brickies on multi-unit sites normally. Yeah. My son's just about to build a bungalow later on through the summer. So I've just said, look, I'll come down there. We'll get stuck in. I'll lay the bricks for you. Because one of my sons, he's 22. He's never been shown how to lay bricks. Literally, I've just said, there's a trowel, get on the line. Yeah. And he'll just copy it. He's really good bricklayer, like all full joints. He's not quick, but his work will be spot on. And this is someone who's only ever built one house. And I had to leave him doing all the gables when I was away, all the detailed brickwork. And it's like someone who's been laying bricks for 25, 30 years. So not quick, but it will be right. And that's the main thing. And, I'll just be down there with my son's laying bricks. I've got a few of my mentees that will come down. Stu Crompton, he's best bricky. He's looking to come down and give us a hand. So I've got a lot of people that just want to come in and help.
One of my good mates is actually a mentee of yours now, a guy named John Colclough.
Oh, yeah, John, I know John. Yeah. He came out on my retreat in October.
Yeah. I remember seeing all the pictures thinking, I'm shooting off to Spain, are you, mate? Yeah, was it Spain?
Cyprus.
Yeah.
It was work.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You're going away there to kind of take away all the, everything that's coming at you daily.
The retreats are really good because, again, this is where my journey started or really changed. When you're so busy working 80 to 100 hours a week, or even 50, 60, and then you come home and you've got kids and, you've got a partner and you've got a life outside of work, there's not a lot of time to think, and I'm one of these people that I literally get to bed and my head hits the pillow and I'm gone. And I think I never used to be like that. I used to always be awake late at night. But going on a retreat allowed me to say, right, this is my week about me. What do I want? What do I enjoy doing? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time? Because most trades and most people are just really fighting for next month's mortgage payments. Yeah. That's as far as they can see. As long as the mortgage is paid this month and if I can get a 1 or 2 week holiday, that's my reward for my year's worth of work. So the retreats were really good for me. I found it so useful for me in my transition from being a busy tradesman to being a developer. And that's why I run my own retreats because, and most of those guys are coming back for their 5th or 6th retreat in January next year because, which I wasn't planning to do. I was sort of saying, this is my last one. And like, no, you can't let it be the last one. I'm like, well, I'm going to go skiing and stuff like that. No, you've got to do another one. I'm like, no, I'm not doing another one. And they was all waiting for it. I'm like, no, honestly, this is my last one. So they badgered me to doing it. And I'm just thinking, well, do you know what? Yeah, I've built something so good and these guys are making such big success and they've all become like good friends. Yeah. It would be a shame to do it. So I just said, look, you know what? It's just a week of my life. It's not a problem. Let's just get on with it and we'll do it. So booked in, filled up just like that.
When you can see that obviously those guys they've got massive value that they want it to happen, then it's kind of hard to turn it down, I suppose.
I'm going to see one of my guys on the way back in Nottingham when I leave here. And, he was on 250 grand a year turnover when I first saw him. He was working on my site at the time as my window guy. Crazy busy, always walking around with his phone under his ear, trying to do, 7 days a week. But like he looked, not broken, but like he looked how I used to look years ago, like just, carrying everything on his shoulders. Yeah. And I said to him, look, why don't you come on my retreat? And he's like, me? Why me? And I went, look, trust me, you're the sort of person where you need, this will be ideal for you. I said, because you're working all these hours, there's no way out for you unless you change what you're doing. And he was like, yeah, but I'm busy. And so he came, and his smallest job now is like £250,000 So he's gone from £250,000 to £1 million in 2 years. This year, I think he's worked on the tools 8 days, whereas he was doing 8 days a week, back then. He's just got his first development site that I've helped him get. Again, was a JV with one of my other mentees. And for me, it's so rewarding pulling that person out of a draining lifestyle where they actually start enjoying the job and the business again, because, it is a great industry, but if you're not careful, it will consume you and 30, 40 years of life will be gone like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, we were talking off air earlier outside, and it has got me second guessing whether I'm actually on the right path at the moment.
Developments.
I mean, it's ultimately where I wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, you're doing them for other customers anyway, aren't you? Like you say,
Yeah,
you built
we're doing it all the time, and I've been doing it for 30 years. I know it inside out, but I've not done it for myself. And when I had that epiphany moment when my dad sadly died, and I just saw property as that was the option. Are you with me? Because I've been working on property. When I looked at development, I just thought, yeah, that's a step too far. I need to take smaller steps. Maybe do property first,
which is not a bad thing.
Later,
I mean, again, I do agree. Like when I teach people to do developments, start with 1 or 2 units.
Yeah.
Even if you're in the trade, you can probably do 3 or 4, but don't rush out and try and take on 10, 15. You're going to learn a lot on your first development, and you want to cut your teeth and get it right. And also, it's about getting in and out quick. Like if you was going to go and build one house and make 100 grand, that's more beneficial for you in 12 months' time than what trying to make 250 grand is in 3 or 4 years' time if you just keep chasing these bigger deals and start doing JVs and you know what I mean. So, and again, I've seen a lot of my mentees come through the system, come through the blueprint that we teach. They do 1 or 2 and they just sell it, and they're like, right, great, I've got 100 grand in my bank now. That now buys me a lot of time. I can quit doing that. I can take some time out. It gives me time to do that development. I've got some of my own money to put in. And it just works. And people will say to me, why don't you go do big developments? It's like, you just don't need to. One thing I've learned is that anybody struggles to spend more than 200 grand a year. So 200 grand is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But most people will struggle to spend £200,000 a year. And you can get to do everything you want on 200 grand a year. Live, you can have 6 months off, you can drive the Lamborghinis, you can do what you want. And you've still got spare money left. And all you got to do is build 2 houses, and you can do that in 6 months. So...
Well, I've just found quite a big investor that's come in with me as a partnership, and our strategy was to basically buy a load of property, turn them into smaller HMOs, cash flow, refinance money, keep going like that for the next 5 years. But like I said, it has literally made me double think and think, you know what, should we actually be looking for land and looking
well cash flow is great, cash flow is good, and I say passive. It's not passive because obviously there's always some work to be done.
You still got to deal with tenants and things like that.
But if you went and got a buy to let today and you was making £250, net after all costs, is that going to make a difference to your life?
No, not just one. No.
And what is the strategy of a buy to let? We've got to wait here for it to go up in value. You get taxed when you buy it, taxed when you keep it, and then taxed when you sell it. Yeah. With developments, you're going to get that big chunk of money in one go. That's going to make a difference to your bank. It makes you have a completely different set of options on what you want to do with your time.
I mean, that's something that's just hit home as well. I've watched a couple of your videos last night, and obviously I know about VAT and things like that because I'm in the industry and we're dealing with it all the time. And I know the fact that if we do a new build, we can claim the VAT back.
Yeah.
But you've just basically said in one of your videos that you're actually paying yourself a wage as you're working as well.
Yeah.
You're obviously reclaiming that VAT back quarterly as well, which is actually
we get every single penny of VAT back. Yeah. With me, my wife, and my 2 boys, we can get £300,000 a year tax free. So that's quite a lot of money, and that's a hell of a lot of money. Yeah. That's after business expenses.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we've just been out to look for a property in Spain that we're going to buy. That's a business expense.
Yeah.
Because we're going to buy it for the business.
Are you going to use that as you retreat then? Or
Yeah. We're gonna live there so many months a year, but then also do retreats and mentoring and stuff from our own villa. Yeah. So, but yeah, it'd be a business expense. But £300,000 a year after your business expenses, and that's what I'm saying. I can't spend 200 grand a year, and I only work 6 months a year, and I have 6 months off traveling around the world. I'm just about to go fishing next week to France with my son. So, but I guess developments work really well for me, and I think tradesmen get it as well because they're like, well, we can build a house. We're building big extensions, we're doing big knock-throughs, we've got all the trades. Most of them just need to learn how to find the plots, appraise the sites and do the numbers, and then really it's the finance thing, which can be a big thing.
I think a massive thing is the mindset as well. Thinking, can you actually do it? Are you with me? Because that's the whole thing about going back to the developer coming on site and his big Range Rover and the us and them.
It's not his first development, is it? That's when you see him in that position.
Mindset of, can I actually be that guy?
Yeah.
Are you with me? Am I almost worthy enough to act? Because at the end of the day, I boil down to being. I've done project management and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, I boil down to being chippy. I'm a carpenter joiner at the end of the day. I'm used to knocking nails in and things like that. So
I mean, you talked about getting paid. So most people will start off using development finance, and from that development finance, they allow you to assign like a project manager's fee.
Yeah.
So on a small development of one house, it might be $2,000 a month. So 6 months, 12 grand. It's not a lot, but it's $2,000. Now, if you was there doing the carpentry work as well, and maybe doing the fencing, maybe just doing a few other jobs, you can obviously get paid for that as a tradesman as well. If you're on a bigger job, so maybe 3 to 5 units, that could possibly be a £4,000 a month project manager's fee. So maybe a 9-month development, $4,000 a month. So that's £1,000 a week every week, and you're not going to be working. That's not you physically working on the site. That's you just liaising with the architects, the solicitors, the brokers, the estate agent, the project monitoring surveyor. That is what that fee is for, and the lenders like to pay you that so that you can invest the time into the project.
Yeah.
So
it's giving you an incentive almost.
Yeah. So let's say you was a self-employed carpenter, just a one-man band. You might say, well, great, I can pop to site in the morning, 7:30 till 8 o'clock, check in on the site, make sure everything's done. I've already sent my emails out to the builders merchants, and my trades know what they're doing. I can go to work 2 or 3 days a week, still earn £250, £300 a week on the tools. Then I get my £1,000 or £500 a week as a project manager, and I can spend a couple of days a week on the site.
So I was completely unaware of it, and it changes the way that you look at it, because up until I watched that video, I just thought that payday was the sale of the property. Are you with me? And that could be here, or it could be, it depends on how long it takes to sell that property.
You've done the deal packaging, so you know you can pay a finder's fee.
Yeah.
So £1 million bit of land would be 2 to 3%. That could be a 20 to 30 grand finder's fee on completion.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is, if you think about a £4,000 a month project manager's fee, how many properties would you need to get £4,000 a month cash flow to be able to allow you to get
a lot?
Well, at least 10.
Yeah.
You know, 10 really good ones to get. Probably 15 properties. How long is it going to take you to get 15 properties before you get £4,000 a month, before you have boiler breakdowns, tenants not paying, refurbs, you know, to be able to go into developments? And I think this is the thing. You don't know what you don't know. And when I explain about developments, it's like, look, you can get paid from day one when you complete, every single week through the project while you're working, while you're managing it. If you're a tradesman, then obviously you've got the benefit of getting paid for doing the work. And then also then you get your developer profit, which is, you know, we say don't ever go for less than 100 grand.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, 75 grand's nice. The way to look at 75 grand is if you've got a 100 grand deal and the market changes and you have to sell it a bit cheaper, a bit quicker, you might net 75 grand. So
yeah, but you've got to have a cut-off point, I suppose, aren't you?
You do, yeah.
You go in here, there, and everywhere, and if you've got that point as where that, you do it, no, you don't do it. That's kind of,
you know, there's people out there doing refurbs to make a 25 grand profit. They're going through exactly the same process. They're finding the property, raising the private investment, getting the finance to actually purchase it, doing all the work, got a sales period, selling it. They might make 25, 30 grand, but if the market changes or someone's just comes in and keeps offering them a bit, there's no buffer. You know, when you're making 300 or 400 grand, if someone wants to, if you lose 100 grand, you're still going to come out sunny side up, which is, again, it's that thing, isn't it? You talk about risk, but then if there's such a massive profit, even if you lost 50% of your profit, you can still come out
still making a decent profit.
6, multi-6, you know. So that's why I like developments. And again, from my retreats, it is about longer term thinking. So, you know, don't expect to make your £1 million on your first deal, or I've got a few mentees that are doing 7 figures. I just say, look, start small, get that first 100 grand, and then rinse and repeat. The average deal my mentees are probably making is about 450 profit for the first deal, so on average. So we've got some guys that have got, you know, good deals, good paying deals. And again, some places in the country, you know, some of my guys are building one house and making a 200 grand plus profit.
Yeah.
Some areas, you know, 100 grand might be a little bit difficult. You might have to build 2 to make maybe 125, 140 grand profit.
Yeah. So what have you got on at the moment, build wise?
So we just finished 3 bungalows. Like I say, just about to start doing another bungalow in the summer. So just going to go fishing, and I'm going to go to the Alps for a month. And that's it. Just 1 bungalow this year. We're just about to start looking for a next project.
I see you've also wrote a book as well this year.
Just wrote a book, so Property Developers Blueprint. It's designed for people to not just understand and learn the strategy, it's what the strategy can do for them. Because, you know, if you think, why are we going to work? We don't just want to be going to work to pay bills. That's going to be a bit boring and not fulfilling. Yeah. I think if people drill down and say, do you know what, this could be my dream lifestyle. I could be spending so many times abroad. I want to be driving that
I
car.
think you're willing to work a lot harder for it as well when you're getting back.
And that's what we were talking about, the trade.
Yeah.
They're working hard to just bring a wage home.
Yeah.
And by the time it's taxed and, people's tools are getting nicked left, right and centre, and it's just always that battle of, if I keep doing this for the next 10 years, basically my body's going to wear out and I'm not really going to see any fruit for my labour.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Developments, one deal, you've just springboarded fast, and you've got to be prepared to give it 18 to 24 months on your first deal, which is not long.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the other thing is investors like to invest in those deals because they can get a decent return. When you're looking to raise 30, 40, 50 grand for a buy to let and someone's going to get £125 of the £250 a month cash flow, if it all goes well, it's not exciting for an investor. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Would you go and put 50 grand into a deal to get £125 back out over the next? No, I certainly wouldn't.
It's a massive outlay for such a,
Yeah, and it's hard to get money out of your properties anymore.
Small return, isn't it? Yeah. So.
And 50 grand, if you're going to get 100 grand bit of land, I mean, I'm sure you can get a bit of land around here for 100 grand for a single plot.
Yeah, well, I've just bought a piece at the side of my garden for 1,500 quid, but it's useless, like. But yeah,
let's take £100,000 for example as a bit of land. A development finance will give you 50%, and you've only got to find 50%.
Yeah.
Then they'll give you all the money for the build. So you've actually only got to find half of the purchase price.
How does it affect you with drawdowns and things like that then? Because do you get that initial figure in order to be able to start that development, or is that something you've got to fund yourself?
Yeah, so again, the 50% of land purchase is what's called day one money. So on completion, they give you 50% towards the purchase. If you've got a bit more money to put in, then there could be a surplus of day one money. So you might have a pot of 20, 30, 40 grand to get going. But all work's paid in arrears. So you would get to damp proof course first.
Yeah.
Now, you've got enough time to buy the materials at the merchants for at least a month. Then you can pay them off a credit card. So that buys you 2 months before you have to pay the materials off.
Yeah.
If you've got labour who come in on a fixed price, so ground workers, you say, well, look, when you get to DPC, we'll pay you. And then you just ring in your project monitor and surveyor. They'll come out and check the work. They'll give you all the money for the foundations and you pay the ground workers. And then obviously there's a little bit there for your project manager's fee as well. So it's just done like that. I mean, we use credit cards and we use stuff like that, and it really reduces your interest on your payments.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing. So, but yeah, it's
about utilising what's out there and what's available, I suppose, isn't it? But it's half the battle is knowing these things, are you with me? Which is again why it comes back to investing in your education and using people like yourself and.
Or just look at the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Again, isn't it? If we would have read that book 20 years ago, where would we be now? And other books and stuff like that, and other courses and stuff. And look.
Well, in the actual book, he was getting educated by his friend's father, wasn't he? So
he was.
At the end of the day, he was getting education. He was lucky enough to get it for free, but it's kind of.
My sons are in a very similar situation to Rich Dad Poor Dad because their real dad, he works in a factory building engines.
Oh, yeah.
Very fixed mindset. You need your papers to be qualified.
Yeah.
You've got to pay your pension. When you're 65, which is now 71, you can retire. Whereas to me and my boys, I'm like, whatever you want to do, you can do. If you want to get that car, if you want to get that house, if you want to go and live there, if you want to go and travel there, if you want to run this business, you can do anything you want to do as long as you make that decision and make that commitment. And it aligns with your values. You've got to be passionate about it and it's got to be true to what you do. You can't go out and break crime, go and commit loads of crime just to make a load of money because you're going to get consequences.
Yeah.
So I try and instill a really positive mindset into my boys. And that's why, they were doing electrics and plumbing as an apprenticeship. And after 12 months, they said, we don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? They said, well, we want to come and be a developer because you go and get to play golf in the week. Whereas before you was always this busy person, then you was out looking at jobs and then you're doing quotes and then you're working at weekends and then you fetch your material. So they've seen the busy side of me working in the construction. And then they've also seen the developer side of me saying, well, we'd rather have that lifestyle. And I said, well, look, you can come and join me, but you've got to treat it like it's a job and it's a business.
Yeah.
And the reason my sons swayed me to take them on, because I was almost getting to the point where I was going to sort of pack up.
Yeah.
They said to me, if we spend 3 years doing our apprenticeship now, we're just going to be a £250 a day electrician.
Yeah.
Whereas if we spend 3 years under your guidance doing developments, where will we be?
Yeah.
So,
and
I was like, well, do you know what? Yeah, fair play to them. They've actually switched on and realised that if they go down that, that crossroads, that route's going to take them to a fixed.
It doesn't mean that you start, you can't retire or stop. It's just a case of handing the reins over, I would imagine, isn't it?
Well, my end goal was to retire. I always thought, get to 50, I'll pack up.
Yeah.
And again, my mentors taught me and said, look, if you create a lifestyle that you enjoy doing and you've got the balance, why would you ever want it to pack up? And it's like, yeah, of course, because everyone wants to retire after a 50-year slog of doing something they don't really enjoy doing. They're all there waiting for that end goal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when it transfers into something that actually you're quite enjoying. Because you're getting to choose those little situations that you're going to be in. It's not a case of Mr. Bossman is telling you, you're doing that today, that's your thing, you're off home at 4:30 and that's your life, basically. You're choosing, making that choice.
I think there'll be a lot of people on here probably wanting to do developments, and they might be thinking, I can't do that, I don't know that, or where do I start? But look, 4.5 years ago, my business partners took everything from me in 1 hour. So they basically emptied the bank account, took me off all the systems, off all the files, off all the platforms, got rid of all the database. I didn't even have an email address. And I had to start from zero.
Yeah.
4.5 years ago. But, again, one thing I've really, really learned is, no one can ever take this away from you, your knowledge.
Yeah.
And, if I give anybody a bit of advice listening to this podcast is just get yourself educated in what you want to do.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever you think that's what I want to do forever.
You also feel it's quite important knowing what you want to do before you actually take that step.
Yeah. So education.
A lot of people miss that out. It's, actually.
Well, I thought school stopped at 15.
Yeah.
Even then, I spent 10 years down the brickyards on my motorbikes because it was more enjoyable. But school wasn't for me. It's just like Romeo and Juliet is not going to put food on my table.
I was saying, I went to my headmaster and said, "Look, I've got to start as an apprentice. I know I'm only 15. Can I leave school early?" And he basically said, "You're going to amount to absolutely bugger all. So yeah, go and start as long as you come back and do your exams."
Right.
Which I actually didn't do because I was fitting a kitchen that day. It's crazy, really. But yeah, it's all come to me actually. Running quite, it's not a massive business, but we do quite a lot of work for people. People are happy with the work we do, so it didn't amount to nothing. I did something, but yeah, it's a bit of a story, isn't it? But yeah, obviously we've now looking at that clock running up to nearly 50 minutes. So everything you've said, mate, has been massively insightful. Not just to the guys watching, to me as well.
Yeah.
So and it's made me second guess and. I would imagine you're going to be hearing quite a bit more from me in the future. There'll be a few conversations, but yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, regarding your
developing homes
or what you do,
we've got a community as well.
One of your books, how can they get in touch with you?
So check me out on all the socials, Andy Hubbard or Andrew Hubbard, as my mum calls me. Developing homes, we're on YouTube and stuff like that. But yeah, just reach out to us. My mission really is to give people that different way of thinking about looking at life, rather than we have to do it this way and 50 years has gone and you think, I wish I'd done that 20 years ago. That's my big message to people is you have a choice. I
actually do wish I kind of met you 20 years ago now. So, but yeah, that's been great, mate, and I really appreciate you driving down. I know it's not a small distance coming all the way to Stoke from where you've come from, so
not a problem.
Massively appreciate
it. Appreciate the offer.
Yeah. And we'll catch you again, guys, and hopefully we'll see the next guest here in the next couple of days because we are doing a massive, intake of guests over this weekend because it's bank holiday. So, see you again, guys.